Good morning, everybody. Let me put my camera down. No one needs to see my face that enlarged. Good to be back. Good to be back. Had Monday off. Give me a like on the video if you are ready to start this week. Let's have a look. How many we got on? Only 13 people watching. Where is everybody? Where is everybody? Come on, everybody. Let's go. Okay, I'm going to start on the daily time frame, and we're going to just look at where we are, and got a couple things to discuss this morning. So it will be a good session for you. I think I'm probably going to add this to the masterclass for the daily bearish bias, or at least the forming a daily bias to the bearish side. We did a forming the daily bias to the bullish side, which is already on the masterclass, but I think this would be a good lesson to do for the bearish side. Give me a thumbs up or a message in the there we go, Lucian. Good morning, good afternoon. Okay, we are good. We are good. Okay, well, without further ado, we'll break it down. I wasn't here yesterday. I have also turned the gain down slightly on the microphone because I tend to talk louder when I've got the headphones on. So if it is a little bit too loud and I'm peaking, just let me know and I can adjust it further. But other than that, it should sound good. On the daily time frame, let's just firstly pay attention to, I just realized I accidentally deleted all my drawings, but I was having a call with Sam again this morning just to go over some of the indicators that we've released for everybody, and just having a look at some other things in the background. And one of those things was the BX that I have been looking at in terms of these kind of support and resistance zones. I accidentally deleted all my indicators, my drawings, just to start fresh this morning, but they are that's 37 to the highs and 37 to the lows. We tend to see sort of reversals from those areas. But first things first, we are bearish on the BX and have been all the way since Tuesday last week. So Tuesday, the 4th of November, technically speaking, momentum has been to the downside, and that has been confirmed from last Wednesday. And ever since then, I would argue longs haven't really been overly sexy in my opinion. And again, talking to Sam about this in terms of looking at the indicators we've developed, when they're clean, everything is clean and it's so easy to find a trade. When everything's kind of like you're getting long signals, but there's other things going against you, like the daily BX, the true trend, etc., etc., it's just not sexy. And you know that by looking at it, right? You just know that by seeing what's going on. And it doesn't surprise me that just as last Friday when I was taking some trades off stream in the morning, the trades I was taking, there was just nothing really there. It just wasn't overly worthwhile. And then I ended up having a really good trade on the live stream. It just goes to show, just wait for the more volume to be traded. So again, just going to zoom out and show you the monthly, just because we do have those more higher time frame draws where we have come into. So again, that 62 was at 140s. Sorry. 700s, 25 700s is where we've completed on the larger time frame draw. And if we go say Manca new high, there is the 23, which is again pretty much we came into, which would have been last month, October. We finished at that 26 400, which is the same Manca new high from the 38. We then found some support, which would have been from, if we go to the daily, which would have been from this extension here. We draw that high. You can see we came down to the 50. I mean, it was pretty much the exact low, right? 24,740s. But there was another extension I was paying attention to, which you'll all be aware of, which was from the traditional where we traded out of here. So this was the Trump tweet back in the start of the year, which we had can anyone remember that? A 15% day? Pretty wild. We went all the way to completions and we traded the high to high on May the 23rd. That has gone to completions, and the exact high is where we came down to for the new extension. We found support at that level. Hopefully you can all see that on my screen. Down here, that was the 38 at 725s. Nice level there, 720. The actual low was 709s, right? 709s was that low. We have been and still are red on the BX again all the way from last week. We traded last week's weekly low and we came down 189, I think 189% on the actual week for that week last week. And we've currently traded 88% of the current monthly range. And of course, we're only in week 2, so we still have lots of magnitude left. Going down into, let's just say, maybe a half an hour time frame just to show you where we are. I had, again, a call with Sam this morning just to go through some of the updates on the indicators. It was more just to discuss some of maybe potential false signals that some people may fall victim to. So I will add those. I'll add like a 5-10 minute video just explaining what we spoke about this morning, just to keep people out of trouble. So that's good. A nice little additional video there to add about the triangles and the diamonds. Let me just make sure I've got all of these on. I think I've got some of the indicators that aren't actually on here. It's okay. I'll do that after. Can you see? So I've got my kind of smart, I don't really want to call it necessarily I'm just going to stick to a half an hour time frame today in terms of the breakdown, because all of this is just, you know, noise up here. But this was that daily extension, so I'm going to just mark this just so we're all aware. Again, this was the support. This is where you're wanting the market to potentially show its hands. The market showed its hands. Again, that comes from the daily draw. Okay, that's the daily high to high. That's what we've been waiting for pretty much for the past 2 quarters. Half an hour trades on last Friday, and then you get your ATR reversal up. We trade the midpoint rebalance, okay, which is, you can see the ATR midpoint rebalance, okay, and it goes all the way to targets, right? You then trade another ATR, 2 times ATR, or to 1.5 ATRs to the upside, completes the midpoint, and again, goes all the way to targets, actually gaps up overnight, completes. There are 2 ATR bars in here, very closely knit together. They both have completions. I would imagine the downside completion gets traded today. That's what I'll be aiming for, as opposed to the upside. So you could mark out, I'm not going to, but there's a ATR -1 down at like 392s, and then another one at 370s. And again, they're going to be the same to the upside. Just measure the -1s if you don't have the indicators. Call it 790s to 800s, right? So you could zone those out if you want. That's pretty much where we're going to be stuck inside for today, right? I would imagine with quite a high likelihood of percentage. Like, we can break those ranges, but I would imagine one of those gets traded today. If not, then we're in for an absolute shit show of a day. Excuse my French, but that's like pretty much, you know, if we measured it out from an ETH high to low point of view, or even just an RTH, because the ETH is so large now, 466 versus 340 on the RTH. So if we just go with the RTH in terms of probably more likely to trade as opposed to the ETH, if the ETH trades, brilliant. But again, those ranges are so large now, I'm just going to go with my RTH expectations. So meaning probably if we get up into these highs at 920s, brilliant. If we don't, again, not really overly bothered. And likewise to the downside, if we do get down to 270s, brilliant, but I won't be exactly pushing short down into that area. And I probably wouldn't even, I would have to see for the long. I will see how price is when we get there. But my smart buy zone for today is going to be pretty much down here at kind of like 450s. And all that's really going to be, I don't even think it would be a full, yeah, I mean, if we look at the full same man canoe high from what would be Friday's extension, we're not even going to be bidding a 38. So at some point, this full halfway back will trade. Probably not today. Maybe if we're going to trade it, maybe on maybe CPI or maybe into the later part of the week. But currently, this is where we are. And all I'm really going to look for is pretty much taking out yesterday's low and maybe, just maybe, getting a little bit of a overnight sweep of those lows, as well as obviously RTH lows from yesterday, and then maybe a bit of a recovery. It'll be a bit of a cheap, dirty trade, nothing really to call, you know, home about, unless we look at the potential shorts, which I'm not opposed to, and this is where we go down to the 5-minute time frame. For those who have got the true trend indicator, the true trend has been to the downside. Now, I had a call with Sam because we were talking about the diamonds and the triangle momentums in terms of potential, I not say false prints, but with the triangle momentum in terms of they print in real time. So what could be classed as a potential looking bullish could actually get sold into. And that's why we use the true trend in confluence with the other two to kind of see trend is still down. The diamonds and the triangles are kind of like showing the potential move, but the true trend is pretty much showing what that trend actually is. So it's kind of just having those as confluences. And as you can see, This is not lagging. This is in real time. There has been no true trend to the upside. That is a fact, but there just hasn't, right? We may have had a couple 5 minutes and then they've got sold into where you can kind of maybe see, but if it's not confirmed, it's not a trend. Hence, it's not a true trend. So I would remain bearish on the basis that, again, daily is bearish in terms of the BX. We have completed several, and I mean several, higher time frame extensions. We're all aware of them. I've already shown you a couple, but if we go to the daily again, just to show you, there is multiple of these draws here. There's the 62 in this extension here. There is a full negative 100 as well. So we're aware of them. I've broken them down every single day for the past 2 weeks. I don't need to reiterate that. But in short, it makes sense to have a little bit of consolidation at these highs. So therefore, I don't necessarily know if we're going to get them, but all I'm basically going to be doing is if we do get pullbacks, then I potentially look at trying to initiate a long trade, but also knowing that, you know, potentially, you know, we are in a downtrend, so we do have to be a little bit careful. And again, I won't necessarily be opposed to trying to catch some shorts if things line up. I mean, ideally, I would like for us to be below the previous day low if I was trying to get shorts, just like I would do if I was trying to get longs. We're right in this midpoint. So I mean, I'm not even going to go out on a limb and saying that there is no edge here. There is no edge here. You're at the previous day midpoint. So the edge is pretty much 50-50 in my opinion. Yeah, so I won't really be doing anything here. But if I was going to look for a short, the only thing I could really do is look at those overnight extensions, which have gone to completions, and we are at that 62. I imagine gun to my head that we do get a push out of this 62. Now, if we go full negative 100 on the open, I would imagine we just continue down. But what I would be expecting is for us to come on the open, hopefully, if we, you know, but it's a potential that we come up into the overnight mid, which is pretty much here, and maybe we get a sell-off from there. It's just going to be a case of seeing how the true trend is at that point, because at that point, if we are bullish, it either needs to get sustained for us to continue up, or it's going to get faded. And I don't really know how I feel about the true trend getting faded as a short, in all honesty. I think if we're going to sell off, it needs to not go into a bullish true trend, in my opinion. So I just don't know if I would even take that. But if we're going to stay weak, maybe you get a same man can do low 38 short, and that takes you down into my smart buy zone. That lines up perfectly. Again, not saying it's going to exactly trade that, but that is currently what I'm seeing. I don't see anything that looks bullish just yet. Things can change, obviously, but for us to go into these lower levels, we are going to need to trade a new extension. We can still trade this negative 100, yes, but we're still going to be 50 to 100 points below. How many that would be? 80? Yeah, like 80 points below. So we're going to have to trade at least another extension, in my opinion, for this to even be valid. So that's why all I would really do is draw, because this hasn't traded yet. I would imagine if they're going to trap some traders into some longs, I would imagine hopefully they trade this 38 here. Again, would I take a short off on that? I don't know, because I don't know what true trend will be doing at that point. It's only 50 points above, so we'd have to see. But essentially, if it does trade and we're still bearish, I would imagine you get a bit of a move down into these lower levels. That's what would make sense to me. Whether I short that again, I'll have to see, because I don't know what it's going to be doing at that point. I don't think there's much edge here because you're at the midpoint, personally. But I am expecting lower prices. Again, whether I take shorts based off that is another thing. I would much rather be a buyer at the retracements as opposed to short those retracements, if that makes sense. If anyone's new, I think it's much better to buy pullbacks in uptrends as opposed to try and initiate those shorts. If we were in a bearish market, like confirmed on the weekly, etc., then yeah, maybe. But right now, you know, it's still an overall uptrend. If it was like down here, then a different story, right? Or down here, a different story. This is still an overall weekly, daily uptrend, so we have to just be cautious of that. And pullbacks will get brought up. It's just where they get brought up. And what makes sense for me doesn't always mean the market's going to come down to those levels. I can sometimes expect deeper pullbacks. They don't have to trade them. So again, we don't necessarily short these areas. When they get down to them, we then look at price. And for me right now, again, it's going to be that 450s to 400s is what makes the most sense to me. I genuinely don't care what we do above those levels. If they don't trade, absolutely fine. I just wait for another trading day. I don't see the point in putting on real risk when the edge just isn't there. Again, you're going to get days where the market just rallies and rallies and rallies, and I don't think there's much risk or edge in terms of those trades, but the market can still go up. It just means sometimes you're going to miss trades, or sometimes there's trades that just aren't valid. But you have to remember that's the market's designed for other people to win when overall they lose, right? So those trades that I don't necessarily take are probably just the trades that aren't actually worth taking for me personally. So hopefully that's useful. Again, overall bearish bias, but most likely going to buy pullbacks as opposed to short uptrends, just purely because the weekly is still overall bullish. If there's any questions, let me know in the Discord. Let me know in the Discord. Let me know in the Whoop trading room. And yeah, we'll see what we get on the open. We've got 15 minutes. Again, we're pretty much inside this no edge zone for me at the moment. This is the previous day midpoint. So there's nothing for me to really do. Again, gun to my head, they probably push this up into a new extension, take out the hourly high, take out the 38, and then maybe if true trend is still red at that point, maybe we continue down into my smart buy zone, and I would probably be a medium risk buyer down there at yesterday's RTH low. I would like to see confirmation, but you could just get a 50-point candle. But even if you do, I think you still get a confirmed trade in here if what is the confirmed low holds and you do grind back up. Again, a bit of a cheap discount, dirty trade, but that's all I really see. I don't really want to be a participant anything else in terms of the long side or the short side. Any questions, let me know, but that's all I really see this morning. Again, I've only really got back to the desk this morning and had yesterday off, and of course had the weekend off as well. So still finding my feet here, but that's what I really see this morning. Nothing too sexy just yet. Everyone on YouTube, if you're not in the Discord, Jesus Christ, if you're not in the Whoop trading room, it's just easy to say Discord. If you're not in the trading room, I'll see you over there if you click the link in the description below. Everyone on Whoop, I will join the live stream now.